Hello everybody, welcome to All Sports Weekly episode 29. I am Trevor and with me this week I have Aaron. How you doing?
Very good, mate. Yourself?
Good.
Very good.
Big week of sport.
As always.
I've called in the big guns. The 2IC is here. Ready to go?
Ready to go. Bring it on.
Alright mate. Everybody, we're on YouTube obviously, and thanks for liking the video. I had a bit of a chat last week and you've done that, so that's awesome. Thank you. We're also on Spotify, SoundCloud and all that other stuff. You know that by now. Please leave any comments down below if you want us to talk about, and we'll do our best to mention it next week. Aaron, what have you been watching this week, mate?
Been keeping a close eye on NBA free agency.
Okay.
Some interesting moves being made. The Ben Simmons situation.
What's happening?
Nothing, actually. Interesting comments being made by an unnamed NBA scout today, said that there are no situations effectively that will work for Ben Simmons.
So, that's a bit of an indictment.
Yeah.
So is he still under contract at Philly?
Still under contract at Philly. He is for a few years.
But he's not lighting it up there, is he? He's not the best player on that team.
He's been working, like he's a good player, he just can't shoot, which is a problem when the fundamental thing of the game is to shoot.
Yeah.
He's been working off potential until now. Had a couple of...
The injury, I remember when he came out of college.
But there's no reason. He's been fairly injury-free since then. There's no reason why he hasn't been as good as his potential should have been, but
So you're talking free agency. Are Philly looking to trade him?
Yes, yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
But maybe they're not getting the value.
Well, they're not getting the value that they think, and there's really no there's obviously a few teams that are being talked about as potential trades, but there's nowhere where a point guard in the league that can't shoot. Well, there isn't one.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Particularly at that price,
What did you think about him not playing in the Olympics, by the way?
Look, dodgy. I don't know. You can't go past Paddy Mills for his enthusiasm and effort to the jersey and all that sort of stuff. And it's quite a tight-knit crew.
It meant a lot.
Yeah. Obviously means very little to him.
Might be like a situation better off without him.
Yeah,
potentially.
Potentially, yeah, absolutely.
Like a Liz Cambage,
Yeah,
sometimes better just not to have him around and less drama.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, cool. I've been watching a bit of AFL, and also I caught the highlights of the Manny Pacquiao fight on the weekend. I didn't get to watch the fight with work commitments. He fought the Cuban Ugas, I think I'm saying that right, Ugas. So he took the fight on 2 weeks' notice after Errol Spence had to pull out with illness, and Pacquiao got beaten. Went to the judges, and it was unanimous decision. And he's 40 years old, 40 years old, father time. Like, you can't tell someone you need to retire because it's their business. They can fight, and there's still plenty of people wanting to watch him. There's still plenty of money. But you just think about, in boxing in particular, Manny Pacquiao is a legend. He's done everything he needs to do. He's been an 8 division champion and everything like that. These hits in the head that he's getting late in his career are not going to do him any favours.
Yeah, it was the same thing with Muhammad Ali, right?
Well, he was the test case.
Yeah,
he was the glaring one where he was a name that could draw a crowd, and they paraded him around for years and he got bashed.
Floyd, taking advantage of money, Floyd's probably doing it the right way in the sense that he's fighting basically nobodies, and because he's such a good defensive fighter, Mayweather. And
he fights YouTubers now.
Because he's such a good defensive fighter, these crappy fighters he's fighting against, he's not getting those hits to the head. But
he's a promoter now as well. So, he does very well there. Yeah. But Mayweather's a guy, just on a side note, he fought 50 fights. He got properly hit in the head once.
Yeah.
That I ever saw. I watched pretty much all of his fights.
Yeah.
He got hit in the head once in 50 fights.
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, 100%.
Hit and don't get hit.
Yep. And even when he's fighting YouTubers, that's what he does.
He still does that.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Well, we're going to start with NRL. Now, there are 2 regular season games to go before finals. Mm-hmm. What's your general thoughts on the NRL competition at the moment, mate?
Not as... Normally, towards the end of the season after State of Origin, I get finals come and get straight back into it, get excited about it. Probably not as excited as I have been in recent years. I'm not too sure what it is. Could be the blowouts.
So, just on that, so what you just said there, I'm hearing that everywhere, and I'm feeling it too.
Sure.
So, being the man of the people that I am, but I do like to talk to people about that, and people who are dyed-in-the-wool footy fans, they're watching it each week, and they're following it. but they're not exactly enthralled. So, yeah.
I think I'm in that group, yeah.
Okay. So, I'm just going to use a little example. We do a footy tipping comp at work, right?
Yep.
Now, your last appearance was Magic Round, the lead up. Magic Round had just happened.
Sure.
That was the last time you came on.
Yeah.
Now, that was the big crackdown.
Crackdown, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, I've gone into All Sports Weekly headquarters there. Now, in just using the work tipping comp as an example, there's 25 people in that, right?
Yeah.
Prior to Magic Round, one person had got a perfect round in the tips.
You sure, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Since Magic Round,
Yeah.
there's been 33 perfect rounds.
Wow.
Right? There are people getting perfect rounds each week.
Yeah.
There's one person who's actually had the last 3 in a row. Now, I know it's only the work tipping comp, but a perfect round in the NRL in years gone by,
almost impossible.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
Now, people are doing it each week.
Well,
so there's a predictability, would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when I used to run some tipping comps with the AFL, and every other round there'd probably be a perfect round. This was a few years ago, but yeah.
Yeah, the AFL was like that.
Yeah.
Now, we weren't on the same page with regards to the crackdown.
Yeah.
So now we've had the fullness of time. There's been, that was how many months ago now, right?
Yeah, 2 or 3.
So I would argue to you that we know for a fact that what was the policing of the play before Magic Round changed in Magic Round. It is now watered down.
Yep.
Back to very close to what it was in round 1.
Sure.
Maybe it's slightly different, but basically
Yeah.
it's gone back down.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Does that prove my point about the incompetency that was on display in Magic Round? Or why is that? If it was so important, because it was like, the rhetoric was binary. It was like, if we don't do this, the game's over. We won't have a game. No one's going to play the game. It's all like, this is the most important thing in the world. And now it's back to pretty much how it was.
Yeah. I think it's back to pretty much where it was, is probably a sign of it not being managed very well. Certainly, the crackdown was probably too hard, and they've just let it get watered down.
Yeah.
I still think something needed to happen, but they've kind of shot themselves in the foot by basically letting it get as watered down as it is.
And that perfect round stat, that's telling you something about the style of the game since then has changed.
Oh, look, I don't think the crackdown or the headshot thing is the factor, or the if you had to pick one factor. I don't think that's the factor to these blowouts. I think it's more the way that the rules are. The rule changes, particularly from the start of the season.
Yeah.
With how the extra 6 again.
They've gone too far with that, haven't they?
I think now you can say that yes, they have.
Yeah.
And look, and the other thing too is that what has crept into the game is just this. Again, it's poor management, but poor roster management.
Oh yeah.
And I think
and a lack of talent, maybe?
Maybe a lack of talent, I don't know, but a lack of management of the talent in the right way to get the best out of each team. Like, the difference between the first team and the last team, particularly the last couple of years, is probably more than it's been for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I don't think that's necessarily the rules. I think it's just the management of the clubs. So it's probably
scores.
a few contributing factors.
Yeah. It's not a great year in the NRL, I have to say.
No.
I'm into it, but not like... I thought last year was excellent.
Yeah.
And I struggled to watch AFL last year. So there's been a bit of a change.
Bit of a turn,
I'm loving the AFL this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, okay. The crackdown in Magic Round was the beginning of these big scores, though. I don't know. I don't know why. The rule change definitely, but the games... They'll change all the rules again in the off-season.
And that's well, to a certain extent they have to. But what I find that particularly the AFL as well, I think a lot of these sports now they every year they're changing rules, and what they do is they solve a problem, but they cause other problems by doing it. And I just leave it alone for a little while.
Well, what you were saying about not being totally into it, and I'm feeling the same. If you extrapolate that more broadly, because I feel like that is the vibe, that would translate to less ratings.
Yep.
And money.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's what I'm wondering is, are we watering it down simply because less people are watching that Magic Round version of rugby league?
Yeah.
People don't want to watch that. That's the problem they've got. You know?
Yeah. I don't know. It's got to be a tough balancing act, right? Because you have to be safe, and you have to convince the mothers that it's a safe game to play.
The mothers, yeah.
And so people play
and
it.
the fathers.
Everybody, right?
Yeah.
You know, if I'm a 16, 17-year-old, you know, there's a lot of other money, lot of money related in other sports, like AFL, for instance. Yes, there's still a risk, but there's a whole lot less of a risk playing AFL than there is rugby league.
Of head injuries.
There's
a very lot of injuries in AFL, but
head injuries, you know. So, you know.
But then if you water it down too much, no one wants to watch it. So there is one easy way to not get hurt playing rugby league is don't play it.
But I think that's what they're afraid of, right? Is that people don't play, and then there's less talent, which makes the games less interesting, which means we're spending less money.
But for the people who do play it, you're all in.
Yeah, well, I think you have to be. Yeah,
interesting. Anyway, there's a vaccination issue arising, and this is going to be for all sports. Is Volandis has come out and basically wants every player in the NRL vaxxed before the end of the season. The idea is they're all in hubs, and then they're going to return back to COVID positive areas like New South Wales and stuff after the season's over. I'm hearing in the NFL, American football, that they're basically not going to draft any players out of college that aren't vaxxed. There's a whole thing about vaccination coming to all sports. What are your thoughts about this, mate? Is it just going to be like no jab, no play, simple as that?
Whether it is or not, I think it's fair if the sports want to do that.
Because Josh Papali'i is saying he will not be vaxxed, just not going to.
Sure.
They're going to retire him.
Look, we just said, you know, if you want to play rugby league, you're all in, and if you know, if that's part of being all in. So if you don't like it, maybe go play another sport that will let you.
And like the NRL, when it starts to cost money, that's when you're going to find out how keen people are. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who, I'm not going to get it, and they're like, well, you can't play.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It was like Hopewadi wasn't going to play on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Remember that? They said, well, we're going to reduce your
pay.
He's like, oh, no, it's okay.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see. Like I heard today that the Roosters are talking about they don't want their fans coming to the game unless they're vaxxed.
Interesting.
Which is another interesting take as well. But it's just going to be a very small minority, like, you know, the Josh Papali'i and probably a couple of extra players that are, you know, because they're against it, it's going to turn into a bigger thing than probably what it is.
Clickbait.
Clickbait. And, you know,
what a time to be alive,
outrage.
What a time.
Yeah, social media outrage.
Yeah, the actual game, the games itself, last weekend, the best game was, I thought, Penrith and Souths. I knew Souths were going to be right up for this one. I actually thought Souths might win this one. They go out to a 12-0 lead, and it's looking pretty good. And then Penrith just clicked. Yeah. Because, you know, remember at the start of the year, they were the top team. It was Penrith and Storm. Storm have kept on keeping on.
Yeah.
But there was a little question mark about Penrith. Origin disrupted them. Cleary got injured. Luai got injured. They had a few things. They'd lost a game or two, and I started to feel like Penrith maybe were vulnerable. But what I saw last weekend, that showed me, no, they are the only team that will possibly beat Melbourne, in my view.
Yeah.
With the maybe Manly out of the
Yeah. Manly make top 4.
Did you catch Penrith and South?
I didn't, mate. Yeah. Moving all last weekend, but you know, kept up with the scores and the news reports and that. Yeah, look, I think it's been Melbourne, Penrith most of the year. I think, to your point, there's probably moments, even now, like there's probably a little bit of a question mark on Melbourne. They're not as dominant as they were. Still winning games,
I don't know.
Well, they're not winning.
They're just cruising, mate.
They're beating Gold Coast 34-20 instead of 50-0, right? So
I think the Storm are in pretty good nick.
Look, I think it's going to come down to Melbourne and Penrith. You're right, the dark horse could be Manly.
On their day.
On their day.
Okay. Now, there's this really weird situation with regards to making the 8. Now, the top 6 is locked away.
Yeah.
Top 7, really. Newcastle is safe now. But for that 8th place, you got Cronulla, Gold Coast, Canberra, the Warriors, the St. George, and even the Tigers, who mathematically could make it. And Tigers would need a miracle and so forth, but mathematically are in the hunt. And as I said, last week, I think it was, a team with a really bad record is going to make the 8.
Yeah.
A really bad record. At the moment, Cronulla are sitting in 8th with a 9-win, 13-loss record. Mm-hmm. Well, it's just a weird year, isn't it?
It is a little bit.
And that's those blowouts, maybe?
Yeah, I think that's just, the gap. Like, all season long, it's been, there's the 6 teams that can win it.
Yeah.
And then the rest.
And that's that predictability that's not as interesting.
100%.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising. Given again, it's a top 8 system, so it's bound to happen every other year, you know, where you get a team that doesn't have a winning record make the finals.
Well, normally a 50% record is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
But so whoever finishes 5th, whether it be the Roosters, Manly, even Parramatta, coming up against that 8th team, they should just bop them. Just get out, you know. Yeah. But yeah, it's a strange setup. So 2 rounds to go. Who's your pick for the flag, mate?
Melbourne.
Me too.
Yep.
Canterbury have received the wooden spoon. You've dodged that one.
So
they've got some players coming in next year. Matt Burton, the big one for me.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time to get them back up though.
Oh, look, I think so. I think, whole new cast and a senior cast.
Yeah.
Will take some time to gel. But, you know, on paper, you could potentially argue that they might be pushing for a top 8 spot.
Yeah.
But unlikely.
The combination of Burton and Flanagan in the halves will be key.
If Flanagan's there.
Yeah, they need to... Well, they've paid a bit of money for him. They need to keep him, and they need him to work out, and they need him and Burton to work out, because that's the... Obviously, without halves, it's
Burton, I reckon, is going to be gone. It'll be interesting to see him in a Canterbury outfit instead of a Penrith outfit. But
he looks really good to
class,
me. He looks like a really good player.
Yeah.
And just, look, I've put a lot of crap on the Broncos this year, because why wouldn't you? But what do they look like next year to you, realistically?
Look, I think we'll have more than 6 wins under our belt by this time next year, but I think we're a couple of years away from finals. I think we've done some good recruiting.
Benny Eichen will straighten you out.
Yeah, I was very pleased. Obviously, to lose him from NRL 360 kind of sucked a little bit, but him going to the Broncos, I think you're right, he will sort them out. I think it's going to take a couple of years for them to get into the finals again. Waiting for those juniors to get 40, 50 games under their belt, and then I think...
Then you've got to retain them.
Then we've got to retain them, yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right, mate. Well, we're going to move on to a bit of tennis now. The Cincinnati Masters tournament has just concluded over there in the States, and that's the big warm-up tournament. The US Open starts on Monday. So we'll talk about the women's first. Ash Barty, mate, has won the title, won the singles.
Yep.
She's beaten Kerber, Krejcikova, Azarenka, and Heather Watson all along the way. So it wasn't like some Mickey Mouse tournament. Naomi Osaka was not in the tournament. This is the one I keep talking about.
Yep.
But number 1 in the world, has been there for something like close to a year.
Yep.
Comes along, wins the tournament. She's going to be the number 1 seed for the US Open next week. Go Ash.
Go Ash, absolutely.
I can't wait to see this Osaka Barty game in the US.
That's
the one we all want.
Yep.
Osaka's so hot and cold though, hard to know.
Recent last couple of years, yeah, absolutely. Look, I think the women's game has been really interesting the last few years. There's not, you know, once Serena Williams stopped winning the majors, I should say. It's kind of been a little bit of a free for all.
Like a vacuum.
There's been a lot of women win a lot of major tournaments. There hasn't been that kind of 1, 2. You haven't had a big 3 like you've had in the men's for the last 20 years, right?
No, women's. You had Williams and then.
Yeah. So. Barty's killing it. Hope she wins. That'd be great.
And in the men's in the Cincinnati, we had Alexander Zverev, who just to jog your memory, just won the Olympic gold medal, and now he has beaten. He beat a rookie in the final, but he beat Tsitsipas in the semi. So he's now starting to fulfill that promise, because he was always this big promise of this is going to be the guy that's going to trouble the big ones. He looks like the guy who might trouble Novak in the US Open.
Hope so.
Nadal is not playing in the US Open. Federer is not playing in the US Open. Nadal's basically taken the rest of the year off.
Yeah.
Those guys are very close to announcing retirement, I think. Yeah. I think Nadal's definitely going to come back for another French next year.
Yeah.
But it's getting to that point.
Yeah.
You know, they're getting on.
Yeah, 100%.
So, do you think Novak will win the Grand Slam? Will you back him to win?
If you're a betting man, you'd probably say
you're a betting man, aren't you?
Dabble. But yeah, look, I'm not a Djokovic fan, so I hope Zverev, Tsitsipas, Medvedev. I hope any of those get up. Yep.
Okay, now look, there's another lead-up tournament happening in the States in North Carolina, a smaller one. The talk of the town is our boy Nick Kyrgios. Now he was due to play Andy Murray. About 10 minutes before the game, he has withdrawn. For reasons unknown. It gets announced on the PA system that Murray and that Kyrgios has withdrawn. The crowd boo. It's like they were not happy. They've paid their money. They're sitting there. Murray was basically ready to walk out, and Kyrgios is like, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
So Murray ended up playing a guy who was a lucky loser, a Noah Rubin. He'd finished a game and 25 minutes earlier, and he backed up.
Yeah.
And Murray beat him 6-2, 6-love. After the game, Murray, who it must be said is a friend of Nick Kyrgios, said, I'll quote him here, "I like watching Nick when he's into it. When he's not into it, I don't enjoy that at all. But when he's into it, I really enjoy watching him," which is an interesting comment. Mm-hmm. And then no sooner had that happened, so Kyrgios has done this no-show. He tweets out a cartoon character smoking a cigarette and has a caption below, "Never regret anything that made you smile." What's going on? What is this?
So, if Kyrgios was employed and he was a part of a team,
Yep.
he would have been sacked a long time ago.
Yeah.
Right?
So, like, what he triggers people, right?
Yeah.
He's got all this talent, but he doesn't do anything with it.
He doesn't.
He's 26.
Yep.
What? He doesn't care.
He doesn't care enough.
He's displayed this over a long period of time.
Yep.
He doesn't care.
No.
But so should I care? Should you care? Should anyone care?
Oh, it's interesting. Like, particularly tennis, not so much in recent decades, but it was always very, stiff upper lip kind of sport. And, I don't know. It's the new age. Like, he is very representative of that generation and generations coming. So I don't know. I don't like it. If you're going to do something, don't half-ass it. If you don't want to play tennis, then don't.
He's happy to just mail it in, make his money, but just not be that dedicated. And I think he's going to change. If he was going to change, he would have done it by now.
We spoke about it before the show in terms of impacting people, right? So if you don't care, that's fine. But people paid to come and watch you play, and you do that to them. It's a bit, it's a bit of a douchebag move.
Agree. Moving on, mate.
Yep.
AFL. Now, I reckon last weekend, that was one of the great rounds of footy. I mean, did you see much AFL?
I moved last week.
Oh, yeah. Why did I get you on this week? I can't remember.
But I did watch highlights, keep up with the scores.
Well, last weekend you had the context of the games was a lot. It was the final round.
Yeah.
The finals are on the line. For some teams, it's do or die. For some teams, it's where are we going to finish.
And lots of spots to be had.
Yes.
Lots of
Yeah, and then there was on top of all of that meaning, the closeness of the games. So we'll start out Western Bulldogs 64, Port Adelaide 66. Port did not lead until the last minute or whatever it was. That's cost the Bulldogs a top 4 spot. They probably were going to finish first. They've gone down to
a couple of
fifth.
weeks ago,
Yeah. Losing to Hawthorn, losing to Essendon. So that's going to really hurt them in the long run.
Yeah.
A win there would have been in the top 4. Then you had, we'll get back to that in a second. Richmond and Hawthorn 83 all. Alistair Clarkson's last game.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a bit of talk. He might pop up for Carlton.
Ah.
Yeah, that's a Ben Teague is in borrowed time maybe.
Who's your source?
Can't never reveal your sources. Never reveal that. So the Swans pumped the Suns. That's fine. Now the Lions 125, West Coast 87.
Never has a 40-point drubbing been more exciting.
Yeah. On a personal note, I was gutted that they got that last goal because it would have meant Essendon would have come up here.
Yes, true.
And that's what I was thinking is if the Lions finish 5th, Essendon will play the Gabba.
But they're playing at Adelaide, aren't they?
Well, they are now because they can't play it at the Gabba because Lions are not the home team.
Right.
It wouldn't be fair.
So Melbourne are home game at Adelaide.
But if they had to finish 5th, they would have played at the Gabba and I would have got to see Essendon play at the final. But it wasn't to be. But I agree with you, for a 40-point drubbing, it got down to that, 17 seconds to go and then they got the score they needed.
Bit of controversy over the timekeeping as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I missed that.
Yeah, so there was a free kick in the 4th quarter and I don't know exactly what happened, but basically it was 14 seconds that the clock should have started, or it might have been 24 seconds. Clock should have started, but it didn't.
Home decision?
Always.
Geelong have lost 77 to Melbourne Demons 81. They were winning by, was it 40 points at one point?
Yeah, okay.
And Melbourne have come back. And that is the minor premiership for Melbourne, first time since the 60s.
54 years, apparently.
54 years, so there you go. Carlton lost to the Giants. And then the Fremantle had to win to make the 8. They didn't do that. So by then, Essendon knew they were in. Still managed to pump Collingwood, which was nice. And then Adelaide rounded out the round, beating North Melbourne. Hell of a week.
Yeah.
Hell of a week.
Yeah, interesting.
The footy was great. It really was. It broke my heart to see a couple of those games with no crowds because they were so good.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's the world we're living in. And we are now in finals, good sir. Let's talk about the finals. Port Adelaide, at home in Adelaide, are going to take on Geelong, who are probably the flag fancy.
Yeah.
But this game is huge.
It is. It'll be interesting. Port Adelaide, I just can't buy into them being a premiership team.
Yeah, you're not the first one. Matt, who's been on the show here, he doesn't gush for them much at all. He reckons they're a bit overrated.
They're a good team, but I don't know if they're a premiership team.
You got to understand though, at Friday night, Adelaide Oval, packed house. They're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah.
If Geelong win that, the week off and a prelim, they start to look pretty good.
Yep.
A lot riding on that game.
Yeah.
I get a feeling that game's going to come down to a kick or two. I feel like that's.
I hope so. I hope they're all like that, mate.
Now, Saturday's got a real grudge match with Swans and the Giants. Now, the Sydney derby here obviously can't be in Sydney. It's in Tassie. But there's so much feeling between those two organisations, isn't it? It's the battle for hearts and minds in New South Wales. You've had a lot of, like the Buddy Franklin deal is a great example where the Giants were sniffing around and the Swans went, no. There's a lot of rivalry here.
Yep.
How do you see this one going, mate? Because the Swans have been a bit of a bolter this year.
Yeah. I think they'll win.
You do?
Yeah, I think GWS are probably seeing the last little dregs of their success, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them sort of come down.
GWS have been winning games, though, mate.
They have. They've had a good finish to the season. They didn't start well.
Okay.
I don't know. I just feel like the Swans.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Adelaide Oval will also play host to Melbourne Demons against the Lions. How do you feel here, mate?
I don't know.
Win this one, a week off and a prelim.
Yeah.
And that'd be at the Gabba, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So, how do you talk to me?
Oh, look, I said earlier in the year that there's 3 teams. I think it was the Lions, Bulldogs, and Demons that I thought had a great opportunity to...
You said that, did you?
Yeah, I did, yes.
On camera?
No, not on camera.
No one saw her.
Unless you're recording my calls.
Okay.
But look, I think Demons beat us this year. Beat us pretty well in the last quarter when we usually kick off. So,
how's the confidence levels?
Look, I don't know. I think at this level, it's pretty hard to predict.
It
could go either way.
Yeah.
Confidence is high. We've had a little bit of a lull. We've had a few good games.
Bring it on.
Yeah, bring it on. Just bring it on.
And my beloved Bombers are going to take on the Bulldogs. Flip a coin. We did beat them a couple of weeks ago, but I think they've come back a little bit. Essendon punching above their expectations. I'm going to have my fingers crossed, mate.
Yeah, if there's going to be a boil over, that one might be one.
Be close, I think.
Yeah.
New segment. Aaron's angry. Aaron, why are you so angry?
Well, this week...
Oh, dear.
So, broadcasting rights.
Yes.
I'm starting to get a little bit tired of how these things are playing out. So, and this is not just with sport, with broadcasting rights, but with the whole streaming situation.
Sure.
So, look, let me read this out to you. So, if we isolate it purely on football, Optus have the Premier League. The A-League is with Paramount.
Yep.
Paramount.
I know.
If you want to watch La Liga or Bundesliga, you have to have either KO or Foxtel. It's on beIN Sports. FA Cup is ESPN, so you have to have Foxtel. If you want the Champions League or Europa League, you have to get Stan, and it's Stan Sports or Stan Sports. Yep. But you can't just get Stan Sports. You have to get Stan.
You get Stan as well.
And get Stan Sports. The World Cup's on Optus. If we look at other...
How many of them do you have?
I have one. I've just got Foxtel.
Yeah. I agree. I hate all the diversification. I hate it.
Yeah.
1 hot minute.
Bring it.
Is Latrell Mitchell a centre or a fullback?
Fullback now, centre long term.
Should Brisbane host the NRL Grand Final?
Heck yeah.
Who's going to win the Dally M? Turbo, Cleary or Cody Walker?
Cody Walker.
Nice. Should cornholing be in the Olympics?
Heck yes.
Had to get that one in.
Heck yes.
Who will win the Premier League this season? Predict.
United.
That's what I like to hear. Who will win the best and fairest for the Broncos?
God.
What a motley crew that is.
Oh, jeez. It won't be Brody
Time's up.
Croft.
That's it. That's all we got time for.
Sorry, guys.
That's all right. Thanks for coming on. Everybody have a good week. Talk to you next time.